Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the New York Sports Rush, brought to you by Bet Rivers, of course. I'm Adam the Bull, and we are joined again this week by the great reporter from MLB.com, senior national reporter Mark Feinsand. Mark, how are you? Thanks for joining me today.
I'm good, Bull. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. This is the exciting time of the year. As a baseball nerd myself, I'm obsessed with transactions. It's a weird thing to be obsessed with in life. I have kept a spreadsheet of every team's major league roster for about 25 years, or as long as I've had a spreadsheet. And then I update it every day with transactions. That's very uncool thing to do, but I do it. I don't know. Maybe as a baseball writer, you could appreciate that, but not most people can.
I should probably do that myself. That sounds like it would be a good way to follow everything, but I'm not nearly that meticulous. No, this is a fun week for baseball fans, casual or hardcore. Obviously, with the trade deadline, and this year especially, given that, a lot of times you'll see trades start happening. We've seen them in June before. We've seen them in early July. As some of these teams, sort of just have very clear visions of where they're headed. But this year, because of the expanded playoff race and the fact that there have been so many teams in it, we just haven't seen very much. We saw one trade on Wednesday night. The Angels traded away reliever Chase Silseth and catcher Logan O'Hoppe to the Rangers for a minor league shortstop. Not a huge trade, but Silseth is a good arm, and O'Hoppe's having a terrible year, but he's had some decent years in the past and still under control. So that was the beginning. To me, that was most interesting, only because it showed the Angels are willing to trade guys who are under control, not just their expiring free agents, and that could bring Zach Neto and Reed Detmers and Jose Soriano into play as well.
It's a great point. Maybe even Joe Adell. I mean, depending on what they want to do, because with John Mozeliak taking over, maybe the Angels will get out of this rut where they seem to not know what to do every year. But yeah, it's interesting. I did see that the Rangers are going to start O'Hoppe at AAA, and like you said, I know he's had a bad year, but I was a little. It's not like the Rangers have great catchers there, so I was a little surprised that they're sending him to AAA, but. They must have
again, he's had a bad year. And I think for the Angels, Travis d'Arnaud was coming off the IL last night, so there was timing for them. The Rangers have a couple of guys that right now it's Elias Diaz and Austin Wynns. They've got Higashioka on the IL, but maybe they look at, let's see if we can figure out why O'Hoppe has been so bad offensively this year. Send him down to AAA and let it, maybe send one of our hitting guys down and work with him and see if we can figure something out. And if they can, then they can bring him back up and, maybe a short period of time and give him a shot.
I do want to get to the Yankees and Mets, but before we do that, obviously, Tarik Skubal yesterday, in what could be his last start with the Tigers, he leaves with a 7-1 lead. They blow the lead. Obviously they've played a lot better since the start of June, but, that loss in a way kind of felt like the end, and maybe the Tigers are going to trade him. In fact, obviously Monday's the deadline. Do you think he's made his last start for the Tigers?
I've been wavering on this every day. I've always said that if they're within 3 games of a playoff spot, I'd find it hard to believe that they're going to trade him. As we sit here right now, Bull, they're 4.5 games out of a wild card. And, even more than that, they're 51-58, right? So, my question is, let's say you somehow sneak in. Are you good enough to do anything in October? That's always the question that I think you need to ask yourself. Now, here's the thing. If you're Scott Harris, you're looking at this team and saying, well, if we get it means we'll have played well down the stretch for a month or two.
Right.
And then we go into a playoff series with Tarik Skubal and Framber Valdez and Casey Mize and Troy Melton. And, why not, right? The American League is not that good. But at the end of the day, I just think that game, if there was ever a sign from above, if you believe in such things, of sports karma or signs in sports, you have a 7-0 lead with Skubal on the mound.
Yeah.
In a game that is essentially, AJ Hinch said it last week, we've been playing game 7 since May, and you blow that game, and then Torkelson hits a home run in the bottom of the 11th.
Yeah.
And, to tie it up after they took a 9-7, after they went down 9-7, and you're like, oh, maybe the Tigers do have life in them.
Yeah.
And then they lose. So do I have right now, if I had to guess, I would say Skubal gets traded. Yeah. The 3 teams I'm watching are the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Rays. I think all 3 have the prospect capital to get him. It's a question of who's going to make the best offer that the Tigers feel, benefits them the most in the long run.
I'll tell you, even as a Cubs fan, I still would rather him go to the Brewers than the Dodgers. I'm sick of the Dodgers getting everybody. I want him to, and it would be cool to see a team like the Brewers and the Rays. We haven't seen the Brewers make a move like that since obviously Sabathia, and he pitched great for them many years ago. But for the Brewers and Rays to make a move like that, I really hope that happens. I'd like to see a team like that. And the Brewers, they've been the bridesmaids so many times in the National League. They've come so close. They've been so good. If I'm the Brewers, you're right. They have a ton of, and so do the Dodgers, so do the Rays. But if I'm the Brewers, I'm being extra, because if you have Skubal and Mizorowski, oh my gosh, they are going to be very hard to beat with that combo.
Yeah, and some people look at the Dodgers and say, "Do you really need Skubal? I mean, with the pitching you have." But
Yeah.
Blake Snell, not the sturdiest fella in the world. Tyler
No.
Glasnow, not the sturdiest fella in the world. Ohtani, not the sturdiest fella in the world right
Yeah.
now. So, I think the idea of bringing in a Skubal to pair with Yamamoto and then see whoever else is healthy for games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are trying to do something that hasn't been done since the Yankees 98, 99, 2000, which has been 3 in a row, and hasn't been done that many times in the history of the game. So,
Nope.
They have motivation to try to win this year. The Rays, when they've been in position to win the AL East and in position to believe they have a chance to go to the World Series, they've been aggressive before.
Yeah.
Nelson Cruz, they acquired 1 year when he was still a big bat. I mean, it cost them. They traded Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, watching Joe Ryan blossom into an all-star pitcher with the Twins probably eats at the Rays a little bit, but it was they went for it. They tried to get Ohtani 1 year. They've made bids for big guys in the past. So, it's going to be fascinating if the Tigers actually decide, okay, it's time to trade Skubal. Two things. Number one, how does that bidding war look? And does Scott Harris just sit there and say, I'm the kingmaker right now.
Let's go.
Come become the king.
Yeah.
And secondly, Casey Mize, Kenley Jensen, Kyle Finnegan, Gleyber Torres, these guys all on the table now. Because if you're trading Skubal, you're basically conceding for the year. You're going to put a lot of talent out there to be had for contenders around the league.
I agree. The Tigers can set themselves up pretty well if they get it right. Let's talk about the Yankees. You referenced them a moment ago. They also blew a lead yesterday. They put up a 4 spot in the top of the first and didn't score again until the 11th. The game was tied at that point. White Sox tie it in the bottom of the 11th. White Sox win it in the bottom of the 12th. Yankees had been playing better the last week, but they lose this game. Still 14 games over 500. As we go, into the deadline here. I know Yankee fans, they're never happy. They're never satisfied. They don't want to hear about, just Judge coming back, whatever it is. So now that we're closer to the deadline, just a couple days away, how aggressive do you expect the Yankees to be?
I mean, I think they'll be aggressive to the point where they always are. I mean, Brian Cashman never gets shy around deadline time. If he sees something he thinks is going to help his team, he's willing to go for it. Unlike other years, it's good. They don't need a starting pitcher. That's one area now that I think they're pretty set in, and that's usually an expensive proposition come deadline time. They will certainly go out and get a reliever or 2 or 3 because they usually do. And Cashman knows that they don't always work out. I mean, look at last year.
Oh yeah.
Cashman got a lot of praise for that deadline. Now Bednar has been fantastic for them. Duvall was good for them and then was bad for them. And Bird was a disaster at the beginning. So if you are looking to add an impact reliever, unless you're adding a guy who has, the year they added Chapman or they traded Chapman to the Cubs and that was a guy, Andrew Miller, guys like that. Sometimes you don't know if they're going to be, relievers are very volatile. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they add 2 or even 3 in the effort to help solidify the back end of that bullpen. The bat situation, I mean, they're in a bad spot right now. I mean, Judge is still out. Bellinger's out now. You're not going to replace those guys with similar players, right? So you just need to bring in a bat to help sort of hold down the fort till they get back. I mean, a guy who I think would be a perfect fit for them, and now we'll bring in the other team across town, is Tyrone Taylor. I mean, he has been red hot since he got back from the IL, right-handed bat. good outfielder. You can plug him in anywhere. And I just feel like, they're not going to go out and trade for a star player right now for the outfield because they don't need that, right? You're not you're not getting to the World Series, most likely, unless Judge and Bellinger are both back, healthy, and
Yes.
playing.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go out and trade for a superstar outfielder. But Taylor's a guy who, right now is on a heater at the plate and, probably won't cost a ton. The only question is whether we'll see a Yankees-Mets trade because those aren't routine or
No.
common, but we have seen them, and I don't think
Yeah.
you know David Stearns and Brian Cashman have their own teams to worry about. They're not worried about what
Yeah.
happens across town right now.
And it seems silly. I could understand maybe being a little hesitant on a blockbuster trade if you're the Mets and Yankees trading with each other. But a Tyrone Taylor, I mean,
Right.
what's the big deal there? It's not like you're giving up a superstar prospect to get him if you're the Yankees, and it's not like Tyrone Taylor is going to be a superstar for the Yankees. So that seems like a level of trade where neither team would worry about the consequences, I would think.
Yeah, this isn't trading Francisco Lindor to the Yankees.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Or the Yankees trading, Jason Dominguez to the Mets and all of a sudden having him on for the next 10 years. Yeah, I mean, we've seen trades between these teams before. Brian Cashman used to joke that he talks trades with 28 teams out there, and the only one he won't talk trades with is the Red Sox. And I think it was just George Steinbrenner forbid him from making deals with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
At this point, I think Hal would look at Cashman and say, whatever the best deal out there is, go make it.
Yeah.
So, the petty thing of like not trading with your rivals, again, I agree with you. I don't see any blockbusters happening between the Yankees and Mets or the Yankees and Red Sox for that matter. But yeah, if there's a smaller trade to be made, I don't think, rivalries are going to get in the way of those.
I know there's been a lot of talk about Ryan Jeffers potentially getting traded to the Yankees. If that's not going to happen, you don't think they could do catcher at all? Like, would they go big and try to get Hunter Goodman? I mean, I don't know why the Rockies would trade him, but they're the Rockies, so you never know. But
so that's exactly it. I mean, why would the Rockies trade him?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Got 3 years of control left. He's already hit 30 home runs this year. He hit 30 home runs last year. He's the middle of their lineup, and they're actually trying to build some momentum towards something. Paul DePodesta did not come into Colorado with a 5-year plan. He wanted this thing to be quicker. He knew they weren't going to make the playoffs this year, but the goal this year was, do not be a 100-loss team after being a 120-loss team last year. Well, they're probably, I didn't actually see if they won last night. They lost. Okay, so their next win will match their win total from 2025.
Yeah, that's good.
They have 42 wins right now as we speak, 43 last year. So they're ahead of pace, ahead of schedule for where they were hoping to be, but they're not trading Hunter Goodman. The Twins are buyers right now.
That's true.
They are not sellers. They are 1.5 games out of a wild card, and their GM came out on the record the other day and said, I think the direction is very clear and we are going to buy. So Ryan Jeffers isn't going anywhere.
Good point.
Look, can things always change? Sure. If they lose Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all of a sudden they're 4.5 out and in a slide, and somebody comes to them with an offer, look, things can always change, right? That's the nature of this week.
Right.
Somebody can say something on Tuesday, and then by Sunday it's a whole different story with 5 straight wins or 5 straight losses. So I'm not saying it's a 0% chance that Jeffers gets traded, but I'd put it at about 1%, and you're not banking your hopes on a 1% roll of the dice.
No,
so
I
wrote something the other day about catching. There's not that much out there. I mean, Liam Hicks from the Marlins, that's an option. If you want to make a trade for him, I think he's available. They've got a lot of catching. The Cardinals are very deep in catching.
Tyler Stevenson. Maybe
Tyler Stevenson with the Reds. He's a free agent. Jonah Heim with the A's. He's going to be a free agent. And I know he's their starter right now because Shea Langoliers is out for the year, but I think they would trade him if the right offer was there.
Right.
The Cardinals are deep with Pajes and Herrera. They've got the best catching prospect in baseball. Down in Double-A, so there are guys out there, but there's no like guys who you're going to say, "Oh, that's the big impact guy."
Yeah.
So you want a new catcher? There are some you can go trade for, and I like Liam Hicks. I think he'd be a decent acquisition. Maybe here's what we're talking about with the Mets. The Mets have Alvarez and Torrens.
Yeah,
the Mets aren't trading Francisco Alvarez to the Yankees.
No.
That I just do not see. Even if they decided they wanted to trade him, that's a guy I could not see them trading across
Yeah,
town to the Bronx.
I agree. Of all those guys, I kind of like Herrera the most. He may not be the best defensive catcher, but I really like his bat, and he's still pretty young. And we'll see if the Card. You're right; they have the top prospect, but I think he's one of their better hitters. It'll be interesting to see what they do, and they do DH him a lot, so it will be interesting to see what happens. In terms of the Mets, obviously, yeah, I agree with you. They're not going to trade catchers to the Yankees, but there are other teams that are interested in catchers. Do you think he will be traded? Either of their catchers?
I think it would take an offer that they really felt helped them moving forward to do it. Neither of them are free agents, so there's no urgency to trade either Alvarez
Right.
or Torrens. But there are 5 or 6 teams. It was 6 yesterday. The Rangers
Yeah.
were one of them. I don't know if the Ohapi trade
Right.
fully fills their desire for a catcher or not. I'm assuming it does. So at least 5 teams still looking for catching help:
Yeah.
Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, White Sox, and Dodgers. So, um, you know, do I think Alvarez gets traded? Probably not. But if somebody really liked him and made a
Yeah.
big offer, I think they'd have to listen.
Yeah.
When we heard that the Mets were willing to talk about anybody but those 5 guys,
Yeah.
um, you know, he wasn't one of those 5 guys.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that if you really love Alvarez and you want to go get him, well, make a big enough offer and maybe you got a shot. But we're
Yeah.
going to see. David Stearns has a lot to do in the next few days because they're going to make, by my count, at least a half a dozen trades.
Wow. I mean, that would. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be it. The sellers are kind of in a good position because there are not a lot of sellers, especially not a lot of sellers that have some talent. And for all the Mets' flaws, there are a number of guys who other teams are gonna be interested in. So if the Mets play this well, they could do well for themselves. But prospects obviously are a dicey thing. I know Anthony Castrovins, who's from Cleveland, who writes for MLB.com. He wrote an article recently for MLB.com where he talked about the failure rate of the prospects that get traded this time of year. It's pretty high.
I was about to break out Castro's stat for you.
Yeah.
Since MLB Pipeline started ranking prospects back in 2004, there have been 102 top 100 prospects that have been traded. Only about 33%, about 1 out of 3, have gone
Yeah.
on to produce a 5 WAR for their career.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And only 1 out of 4 have gone on to produce 10 WAR in their
Yeah.
career. So you're looking at a 1 out of 4 shot that you get like a guy who sticks around in the big leagues as a productive player for, the length of the time you have him.
Yeah.
So, prospects are suspect. That's always the famous, saying.
Yeah.
But that said, if you're David Stearns, Peralta, Minter, Raleigh,
Yeah.
Tyrone Taylor, Clay Holmes, maybe Luke Weaver. Weaver's the only one who's under control for next year. Everybody else is a free agent. There's no reason not to trade them. And
That's
in
right.
a market where, as of today, there aren't a lot of sellers. Now, if you wait until Sunday or Monday, you could see, 3 or 4
Yeah.
more of these teams. The Tigers
Right.
can enter the fray, and the Orioles or whoever can enter the fray if they have a few bad days. So right now, the sellers are few and far between, but the number will increase as we go here.
And you wonder if, we talked a lot about Skubal already, but, a lot of times in free agency, everything gets held up until the top starter signs. Well, here we could see the same thing. Like any team that wants a starter, and there's a few teams that need him. Obviously, the Cubs come first to mind for me, but Milwaukee and the Dodgers have been talked about, and the White Sox and others. If you need a starter, like until the Tigers trade Skubal, if the teams all assume they're going to trade him, that might hold up any team that's interested in him, at least. That might hold them up from doing anything else.
It might, except that there are going to be teams out there that need starting pitching that aren't necessarily in on Skubal.
Yeah.
And those teams may aggressively try to get the other guys before Milwaukee,
True.
Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and the Dodgers, or whoever decide they're in the Skubal mix.
Yeah.
Before those guys find out who doesn't get Skubal.
That's a good point.
If the Cubs say, we're not getting Skubal, but Clay Holmes would look really good in our rotation, let's go get Clay Holmes before we find out which of the also-rans are going to be coming for him as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a good point. All right, Mark, we appreciate the time as always. Mark Feinsand, MLB senior writer. from MLB.com. He does great work, and he's going to be a busy man over these next few days as we get to the trade deadline, 6 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. Mark, thanks for joining me on New York Sports Rush.
You got it. Thanks, Bill.
We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us. Brought to you by Bet Rivers.